We're going to try to keep this in the context of what we have as the background subject here today, the opportunities for the telecom industry. Clearly, the telecom industry is in a situation where, well, not an enviable situation. Enormous growth, so enormous numbers, enormous investments in spectrum, license, 3G, 14 billion, 4G, 7, $8 billion, then 2G all over again, and then CapEx. So, you're talking of some 30 or 40 billion dollars invested out there with no path to recovery. And clearly, the way ahead is supposed to be data. And who's going to buy the data? Well, all these people sitting on that huge pyramid are not buying that much of data. They're buying some data, and there's a lot more smartphone selling. We heard that earlier in the day. So clearly, one big opportunity is this whole other devices, the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything, smart cities, smart homes. And I guess we'll get a chance to look at that and then, kind of interact with you a little bit and see where we see this opportunity kind of going. We have a good cross-section here. It's a small panel, but kind of focused and relevant from the different segments. I'm going to ask each of them to kind of give a very short background and one key thing which they'd like to see, and we'll go straight into the discussions. I want to start off with my own experience. So I'm Prasanto Roy. I've been a technology journalist for 25 years actually, out of which 23 were with cyber media. In the last year, I took a bit of a break to do a lot of fun things. And one of those fun things was building a green home. So this was the first home in the country to get a green certification. It was the first home to register for a green rating, which happened in 2011. And in January, we got a Terry Griha 5-star rating for this. So again, this was the first to get that rating. Now, the interesting thing was that my idea was not just to build one home, but to help Terry evangelize green homes, smart green homes, energy efficient homes, and all of that. So in the last 2.5 years, I've been speaking at conferences like this one. Why a green home? Why did I do it? Why did I go for a rating? And in these 2 years, from 2 years ago when my home registered to now, Terry has about maybe 10 or 12 more homes in the country which have registered for green. LEED has another, I think maybe 5 to 10 homes. So where I thought there'd be 1 million homes in 2 years, we've got 20. So clearly, on one side, if I were to look at where my green home was, I thought it was a great success. It got a 5-star rating and all of that, first in the country. On the other side, I thought it would be a model which would be replicated and, Terry would have millions of people queuing up to do green homes, and nobody did. So clearly, there was a huge gap in conveying the benefits of green homes and then scaling it up to the level where it's interesting as an opportunity for other related sectors like telecom, which would allow those homes to connect and so on. It's clearly a failure of communication about that opportunity to builders. Now, again, in the north, this region where we are, most of the development is happening in Gurgaon, followed by Noida. Gurgaon has 280 real estate projects, large ones, underway now. Zero green. Yes, you'll see some signboards and hoardings saying, oh, we have some green building project or something, but most of them are, there's a golf course or there's a tree or something, and that makes it green. So it's obviously not really what we're looking at in terms of green. So the developers have, for whatever reason, failed to see that opportunity. And one thing was clear to me in my interactions and the many, many talks I've given over green buildings and smart buildings is that nobody gives a damn about environment. Okay, you'll see a lot of people saying, yes, we must save the environment for our children. But they'll go out and do exactly what they were doing and get back to work after that. And, nobody is going to say, oh, I'm going to do this, build a green home to save the environment. But there are clearly other very, very clear benefits which are more immediate, okay, which we have not been able to sell. By we, I mean the industry at large, organizations like Terry and USGBC, which does LEED. So I'm going to put this to the panel here, really. We are seeing a major opportunity ahead for connected devices, connected homes, connected cities. all that connectivity will come from somewhere and will come from you folks, ladies and gentlemen, who of the telecom industry. But how do we get to that scale? How do we get builders to recognize the opportunity? Because builders are not, I mean, they're not interested in environment. We've established that. They're not interested in saving energy. That is fairly clear. They're interested in their property and what they're able to sell at what price. And if they see something which will get them 20% more per square foot and brand it as a premium property, etc., of course they will be interested. They will jump to it. Okay. So the question is, what is this opportunity? How do we quantify it? And how do we get to the kind of scale that we require for this? And I'll leave this to the panel to very briefly introduce themselves, their company, and their connect with this segment. And give me a total of maybe 3 to 4 minutes initially per panelist to set the context and how do they see this whole thing scaling to a level where it will be of interest to this audience. Okay, so let me start in no particular order. From my immediate right, maybe Vishal, would you give it a...
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Vishal Dhar. I work with iYogi. I'm one of the founders of the business. We set up a business which was to manage the increasing complexity in homes with the proliferation of technologies. The company is only 7 years old, but within those 7 years, we've seen a dramatic shift in how people are using technology, the increasing dependency on different types of technologies and functionalities. Also different types of use cases that are ingratiating our lives, specifically with what people are terming as Internet of Things. To give you some numbers very quickly, the numbers of installed PCs was 1 billion in 2008, which reached 2 billion in 2012. Gartner predicts by 2020 the number of IoT devices in homes are going to be 28 billion. So that's the dramatic shift we are seeing. Telecom companies are at the forefront of managing customers who are with respect to data and with respect to their device usage. So we feel they're an ideal partner for how we can actually expand our business. We currently, just to give you a quick stat, we operate in 11 countries, have 2.5 million users. We deploy 5,000 people, have the largest database of knowledge solutions which are partially automated to manage a very hybrid infrastructure in homes. I look forward to participating with these two panelists who come from very innovative companies, Honeywell and Samsung, and I think both of them are going to be leaders in that home ecosystem.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jasmeet, Jasmeet Bhatia. I represent Honeywell. Honeywell, as some of you might be knowing, is a $40 billion Fortune 100 company. I'm here representing the OEM community to some extent, which makes products for making the home smarter. So it's a very exciting platform for me to come here, interact with you, and to also share my experiences and opinions on how this market is expected to shape up. I totally agree with what PK and Vishal just mentioned. It's a very exciting opportunity for all of us, not only the telcos, but be it OEMs, be it developers, be it app developers, all of us have a lot of exciting times coming ahead of us. Now, I think most of us have smartphones and we are connected to each other. So I think as humans, increasingly we are getting connected. The next phase of connection will be homes, smarter homes, connected homes, and connected business, and eventually it will be connected cities or smart cities as the term is already being floated around. So that's probably the evolutionary curve that is expected to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than later. We already have the technology with us. In some developed countries, they already have launched products. It's the market, it's you and I who need to open up, be more aware, and accept that. And I think it'll be a very fruitful discussion between all of us to actually see how we can increase our awareness and actually create the demand for the technology which is already there in the market to make all our lives more productive and more efficient.
Thanks, Jasmeet. So Tarun, you come from Samsung, and clearly one component of the home and then beyond is a whole lot of connected devices, and we see that as far more immediate because even before the so-called smart home, people have had smart TVs and devices which connect to the internet on their own or through the network. Now there are lots of wearables which are part of this ecosystem and beyond. Okay, so where do you see this leading up to an opportunity for telcos?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I think PK has put it very simply in terms of laying the landscape for green homes and smart homes. I think it's a little bit more complex than that because there are 3 or 4 factors really play in everybody's mind. One of them, of course, is scale. If I look at it from a telco perspective, they look at scale. How can I scale this? If I look at it from a consumer point of view, it's always affordability. Is it really fitting into my budget? And is it so important that I need to spend that extra money? If I look at it from a Samsung's point of view, so we believe that there is a little bit of Samsung in everybody's home, and we are a very critical player in this whole IoT ecosystem. And we are taking the lead in terms of even creating technology which is going to try and fulfill all these needs. In terms of where we are today, the most important thing which touches us beyond smart TVs and smart devices is, let's say, home security systems. Most of us try and invest in home security system, whether it's a condominium or whether it's an independent house. That's the closest we get to a sort of a smart home solution. I think where the market is going in most of the mature markets like US and Europe is all-in-one sort of a solution where I have a handheld device which sort of controls most of my stuff. I don't need to have multiple remotes, multiple switches. Or I have a wearable around my wrist or elsewhere which I can talk to and give commands and makes life a little bit simpler for me. It does have it up and down. There is a huge potential if I was to just say from a Indian ecosystem. So if I was a telco, there is going to be a huge amount of data usage. There is going to be connectivity. If I'm a developer, yeah, sure. It helps me sort of create extra money from the consumer. As a consumer, I'm looking for a security as well as I'm looking for a sort of ease of use. And there's a premium attached to that. So I think the convergence of these 3-4 things will really bring out a combination which seems like the most workable from an industry ecosystem perspective.
Okay, great. So I think we've got pretty good base on which to take this up.